right, here we go, guys. Welcome back to Managing Your Perimeter. Mel and PJ are here with us. It's been a while. I think we tried to do this monthly, but we had the inauguration. We had a state funeral. We were
We had the
very,
vote count.
what'd you say?
We had what
Yeah,
was
we
it?
had
The
January 6th.
initialization of the ballots or whatever it was.
Yeah, oh yeah, yes, the counting. Yes, exactly. We had all of that going on. January and December were as we were saying right before we started this podcast, were a kind of a blur, much like my background.
Good
And
friends from the Middle East and Eastern Europe decided to visit a couple times.
it has definitely been a whirlwind, lots of new things going on, but we'll talk about our personal stuff, guys. Why don't you catch me up into March already, you guys? It's spring, March Madness, roll tide, let's go. Let's see if we can make a good showing in the NCAA tournament. So go ahead, PJ, tell me what's going on. Your son had something good.
Well, first of all, War Eagle, March Madness. Um,
Roll tide.
uh,
Go IU.
it's been crazy. So, those of you who can't see, my face is a tad bushy because I had the playoff beard going for my son's hockey team that just won state on Sunday. First time any hockey program from my son's high school had even played in a state game since 1988.
Oh my
So it was a
God.
big deal.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
it was good. So it was a good weekend. Other than
Amazing.
that, just plugging along and going through dreary Chicago weather today. It's raining and cold.
Oh, no, can't do it. Don't like it. Don't like it at all.
There's
And
a
then
reason
just
you moved, Donna.
what'd you say?
There's a reason you moved.
God, seriously, honestly, I left it the day I left, it was minus 45, and I threw my coat in the car and told my friend, "You can burn this coat. I will never be in that cold again." And then I went to work the inauguration. So
Well, I think the low we hit there was only like minus 11. So,
it was still, I couldn't layer up enough. But anyway, no,
Good thing the
I'm
office
glad.
windows overlooked the yard, so you could direct from above.
I swear, I promise you, I will do that again. Literally, the hotel room, I could see the Marshall Yard. I felt like I was Evita on her balcony. It was the only way that I could stay warm. Oh my God. But anyway, yeah, congratulations to Patrick. Very proud of him. That's an awesome feat. So I'm glad that was coming along. And we're going to circle back to that in 1 second. Mel, what is going on with you?
well, it's warm. That's all I can say. It's warm.
It's warm in outer
Things
space.
well, yeah. So that's looking out my window. So, but
I
here it's
thought all
warm.
you
No,
guys got flown back yesterday. You're still on the space
most
station?
they left some up there. Biden wouldn't approve all of them coming back.
Oh,
Nah,
here we go.
sorry. We're
Not that we're
going.
getting
Yeah, we're
political
going.
or
We're
anything.
definitely going there.
There we go.
We may be talking about some subject, and I'm going to chime in with an Elon Musk quote.
I
Anyway,
know. I know
all
it's
is
going to come.
all is good down here, and we just keep living the dream.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad. I'm glad, Mel. Glad to see you there. Like I said, I saw you in, a little bit of December and into January, and that was definitely a whirlwind. And I will tell you that I have always had or had for a very long time the PTSD from, our papal visit in
Don't don't
2015, whatever that
don't
was.
say that. Don't say the city.
Yep. But I will say that those two events back to back absolutely wiped me out. Wiped me out.
Oh yeah.
It was those were two very big events. We did really well. It is what it is. We got dumped on in snow, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and there was a blizzard.
Right, every possible weather, anything that could happen was happening while we were all there, and everybody held it together as best as they could. And I was very proud, all the vendors, everybody was very proud to that we pulled all of that off. And then I decided that it was time for me to get my little hip surgery, so I did that. in February, early February, which has been fantastic.
How goes the rehab?
It was ancillary, so nothing under the muscle and, tendons. So I was literally up walking half an hour after surgery.
Wow.
I went
That's awesome.
home. I went to a sports ortho, went home the day of. I recouped in Nashville, and then I was like, I need like weather that I could walk outside. So I came down to Florida to be able to just walk outside and be outside. And now any kind of limping that I'm doing is really more of sort of memory of falling back into that. And so I catch myself. But really I should have done it earlier, but I look back on the year that we had and I had no time to sit down for, 3, 4 weeks and just not do something. But it was worth it and I'm happy I did it. And we were on to like, new things. I mean, like I said, right before we started this call, I mean, we're in year 5 of the business and I can't thank you guys enough. I'm like super proud of where we are. Like we've done
And
a
I
lot.
would say year 5 of the contract, year 7 of the business.
Right, right. But just like the busy stuff and doing the
Yep.
stuff and being on call and really getting to know, and I think about, where we were when we first started doing things and how we would do things on a shoestring budget. And B, in the simplest forms of Word documents and, what we considered like a PowerPoint, which now I look at the capabilities deck and the one sheets that we have put together. And we've come so far. Oh my God, we've come so far. It's, I mean, it's the true testament of, you know, working out of hotels and, working out of one room things and,
In pods.
trying to get our schedules together to, make sure that we can do all these meetings and it was, yeah, we've definitely come a long way. So I can't tell you all how much I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much.
Well, let me ask you this question. Did you ever think 5 years ago you'd be where you are now?
Uh, Not the depth and knowledge
Yeah.
and the learning that I've done. And I felt 5 years ago, I mean, and I did know a lot. I was very well versed in what we did and everything, but now really deep diving into government and contracts and then bigger worlds, right? Like,
Yeah.
attacking. I mean, I've always dreamed big. So I don't, for me to say that I was going after World Cup or Olympics or Super Bowl thing, like everybody knows that I will always say those things. But to physically be in rooms with those people, it's like, oh my God, we're doing it. We're at a table having conversations, however little or big parts of these conversations we get into, we're still at the table, and I think that's I mean, that's amazing. I see growth. I just see growth. And as I'm sitting here spitballing and talking, originally I think when we had this or we talked about the run of show for this, I wanted us to talk about, sort of the state of where, things are and some current events of, where security is. But I kind of think I might switch it a little bit. And I think I might talk about where maybe the business is going and what, Arcus is trying to do now and what we're looking into now. And that kind of dovetails, how we were going to talk about some of the, trade shows and things like that are coming up and, what our interests are now. And, maybe you guys can give some feedback on what you think about that. We still, both of you are still very much involved in this podcast and we're really going to push it forward. I just talked to one of the girls today who does a lot of writing for us. And, she's like, we're really going to start pushing it. You're, like you said, 5, 7 years into this business. Let's really start taking all the things you have. I mean, we have good content on our LinkedIn. We have good content on these podcasts. We have so much content on these podcasts, and we're going to figure out, where to take these and get more involved and put you guys, like now's the time for us to put you guys on some panels. Like like, why not?
So big dreamer, where do
Yeah.
you see us? Where do you see us going? I mean, when you talk about, and I think this juxtaposes well with the whole podcast, is the state of the industry, for lack of a better term, the
Yeah.
space, what we do, and what assets, not just physical assets, but
Mhm.
conceptual assets. How do we think we can improve not just what we do, but and maybe this is a little too heady, quite frankly. Well, it is for me. How do we contribute to the overall safety of people going to large events? Period.
I think that I think we should now start to tap into what we wanted this podcast to really dive into, and that is show us as the experts and be able to market ourselves as these consultants that can get up and speak about it, that can have conversations about it, that can dive into it. We understand, and I use your term, boots on the ground. We understand that. We know what that takes. And now it's time for us to kind of disseminate that information. I mean, when we work, we're going to use inauguration, right? We work with agents that some of them have never done this before, and they're relying on us to provide some guidance for that. Well, we should tap into that. Now's the time to tap into that.
Yeah,
Use our
I agree.
resources, figure that out. Why aren't we like talking on these panels? I mean, I met with a group in Nashville.
Lots of maps, right?
Yeah. I met with a group in Nashville, and it's a group that's called the Touring, well, they used to be called Touring Career Workshop, and I think they're now called Echo Live, ECCHO Live. Anyway, it's two women that run it, and the first thing they said when we were talking to me was, we need to get you on some panels. Like, that particular industry is very interested in security and safety and what is projected out there, and the climate's not changing. I mean, do you guys think it's changing? I don't think it's
Well, I
changing.
think it. I think
I
it's
think
getting
it's changing
worse.
for the worse.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
Yeah.
And so now this is a perfect segue, and this is not just event related, but when you look at what's going on currently in this day and time, is someone who was a darling of the left, and I use that term deliberately, and was schmoozing with all the folks in San Francisco and as a mega rich dude. And yes, I'm talking about Elon Musk. All of a sudden now he's the left's enemy, and those on the progressive left or the progressives are now targeting him and his business. And
Mhm.
his business, which has absolutely nothing to do with what he is doing,
Mhm.
is an innocent victim. So, what I'm trying to say is there's nobody that's safe in this world
No.
anymore.
Mhm.
And we have to be so diligent in everything that we do to bring a safe environment to those where everybody shows up, people that are conservative, people that are liberal, people that are in the middle, people that care passionately, and people that don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I mean, all the way around. So I guess what I'm saying from an event standpoint, no place is safe, but there are things that we can do that make it safe for them.
Mhm. Agreed.
Safer. Listen, and
And we
we've talked
record we
about this
recorded
stuff.
that, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah, we
Okay,
did.
good. Because I'm 5 minutes from now, I'm not going to remember what I said.
It's a soundbite. We got it.
Safer. I think we've talked about on this podcast often about what we do when we attend events and how we go in and approach. And we look for every exit. We don't dive into the middle anymore. But for those of us who have kids, raising my hand, who like to run up to the center and be at the front of the stage first thing, even without a ticket, she still gets there. And so I'm like, okay, it's trying to instill that of, okay, now I'm attending. But, we talk about the rings of security, right? Going further out. So, when you're in Disneyland, for those who still put that garbage up, um, you're that's the ultimate soft target. So then we have to push it further out. How does that happen? Because then you get a queue starting at that further out point. It becomes, the Ron of Japan, volcano onion rings that are stacked. You're still widening and widening, but there's still the outside heat.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
No, it totally does. It absolutely makes sense. And it's funny. And that's why I said I was going to circle back to it. Let me talk about this. When you were at your son's, you just did the state championship, right? So you're there and everything. And how are you? Because it was where was it? United Center?
At United Center.
Yeah. So United Center in Chicago, right? We all know.
Yep.
I mean, most of us would know where that is. And if not, it's a well-known venue. It's not exactly the safest, right?
Nope.
And not that your son's
It was a
champion,
little too chilly for the crack vendors to be out though. So
not that
Yeah, they're
your
all up in the
son's-
park up north of the center anyway. So
not that your son's event was going to, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how many thousands of people you got there, but I mean, how are you feeling when you got there? What were you feeling like when you're walking into these venues? I mean, this is how it is now. Like when I walk, God, when I get into a parking lot now, I'm just looking at things differently because people are
So they had it was much less robust than a Bulls or a Blackhawks game, but they had a car at every entrance to the parking lots, and they only had, I want to say, 3, maybe 4 parking lots. As I am wont to do, I arranged for a parent party bus to take us all down. We had just set up in the parking lot, and a parking lot attendant came over, security, said, "No, you can't tailgate at the United Center." I'm like, okay, we'll put it away. So they were on top of things. But it was literally a guy sitting in a car here and a guy sitting in a car here at each one. There were security throughout inside, and you had to go through the metal detectors.
Yeah, mag detectors.
Through the mags. But security was present. If you pinged, they gave you a quick search, but it was very ancillary, if you will.
you get what you pay for.
Presence.
Were any of them on Segways?
No, still winter. They're not on them yet. And it snowed that day, so.
But they were present, and there was awareness there. So,
It's a visual deterrent when you have people in uniform, whether they're armed or not. Trust me, I know this, and that's one of your first lines of defense. Now,
well, and there's fence around every parking lot too.
Sure.
Right.
True.
Right.
True. But it also begs the question: is you get what you pay for? I mean, down here in Florida, you can get unarmed security for like $16 an hour, and you're not gonna attract the level of professional at that rate that you should if you're really concerned about security. That's what I'm gonna say.
Well, so we do that, which so let's go back when we were just discussing the martial yard, right? So when we do a martial yard for an event, we put a security person at the entrances. If we have 2, then we put them one at each entrance. And I do not want them armed. I want them just there as a precaution for no one should be on that parking lot or in that area because that's our workspace. That's our production lot. That's our workspace. And we need to keep people out of there that just don't need to be there. It's not safe. A, because we have heavy machinery coming through there. And B, we have a lot going on, a lot of cars, things like that. But just having them there is a visual deterrent. And it makes people stop. And they're just like, oh, can I enter here or can I not enter here, right? And so I think it's always going to be like that. I just feel like it's definitely heightened more now when I go to these things and when I attend things. And it isn't because I'm more aware of it. It's just it feels more heightened to me. Things just feel that they're at a heightened level, and it does make me nervous, even a coffee shop or something, when I kind of see somebody who cares, doesn't like their coffee or whatever. I mean, you see it all over the social media, but in reality, I've seen it. And, I'm just like, what? This is the reaction we have now. Everything is an explosive reaction. Everything has, that kind of thing to it.
Everything is a personal affront to you as an individual.
Yeah. 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 So, we're back in the season again, right? We're gearing up again. The festivals are going to start again. Everything is coming back. Um, we are going to, well, two things. One, we're participating in a industry show for the DHS next week. And then I'm attending the ISC, which is I think it's International Security Conference on the West. That's a really good conference. They have a lot of agency people who come and speak, and people who are in the industry, security industry, on all the levels, cyber, all of it, every type. And so that's going to be a really good one. It's actually almost 4 days, so it's a lot. It's very comprehensive. And I get a little, overstimulated, but there's a lot of vendors there, so it'll be very good. And then at the end of April, there is the World Congress of Sports, which touches on what's happening in the sports industry right now. It's sponsored by the Sports Business Journal. And they definitely focus on what's coming up in the industry, but there is conversation about security and things like that. So
That's a panel we should be on.
Well, I'm pushing for it, Mel. They did give me an op-ed opportunity last year. I'm trying to, that was the
Parlay that.
conversation. That was the conversation today about how we should be really, capitalizing on things like that. But my point is, we're in it, Arcus is in it. Arcus is there. We're having the dialogues, we're having the conversations. We have very good relationships with our clients and our vendors. We, like them, are always trying to figure out what's the latest and greatest and newest gadget and thing out there. How can we do things better? Um, it's I will tell you that the inauguration, and when I was saying that those kicked my butt, because I felt like I knew a lot. And when I came out of it, I felt like I definitely knew more, a whole lot more, and how I will be approaching these large, NSSEs and large scale events at this point. My mindset's a little bit different now. I don't know what triggered it. I don't know what did it, but it was different, and I felt it this time. So, I'm definitely grateful for that, but we're in it. Arcus is in it. We've been in it. We're in the conversation, but we should be participating and leading some of these conversations. And so I am actually going to task you to start thinking about that. Start thinking about, where can we sell ourselves? And by sell ourselves, I mean, where
On
can
the street?
yeah, on the corner.
Perfect.
Gotta start making some cash. Where can we put ourselves? Where can we put the name that, because people ask us the questions, they rely on this, and this podcast is demonstrating that. We've gotten some really good guests on this podcast, you guys. We've done really, really well. And people are respecting that. And so I think it's time that we start capitalizing on that. So I don't know.
And I think you just mentioned it, Anna, that, going to these conferences, going to see where these new vendors are, being at the forefront of whatever the newest security devices are. And by that, I mean, assets on the ground. Is it a new kind of fence? Is it a container fence? Is it, bike rack's not going away, much to our chagrin, but there are newer and better ways to deploy and faster ways to deploy some things that may be perfect for that type of thing.
Sure.
There are technology tools, whether it's new and better use of AI and cameras for predictive threats, and we've touched on that in the past. Whether it's new, we talked about the touring industry, and their use of software to manage all of their stuff and whatever app that may be.
I want to get some robots.
Tour and realizing new uses for that type of thing, right? It's reimagining or repurposing stuff that we know what these things can do.
Yeah.
What else can they do, right? And I think being thought leaders in this space as not just reactionary leaders, I think might behoove us and serve us well to be like, yeah, okay, use this for this, but did you think about this? Instead of or in addition to.
Oh, that's good. I think thought leaders is a very good description for this. Very good description. And actually, I need to make note of that because that's what I think we'll figure out what to call this episode. Is it is important because people do hear us. I mean, they rely on us. They,
I mean, again, things I know we wanted to talk about, kind of current events. Initially, you alluded to it. That's what we were going to go with. But if we are, I'd say we are one of the, if not the premier perimeter security company, at least in the U.S. We do every major security event that includes heads of state, right? For the most part. But if we're thought leaders, why are the people like in New Orleans for New Year's Eve not talking to us? If we had walked and seen what their plan was, we'd been like, okay, you have these, you don't want to use them, you've got a police car there, that's fine, but you've got a sidewalk here that you didn't account for. You've got things where things can go wrong. It's just, again, a lot of these people are doing it for their first time, even if they've done New Year's Eve 20 times. They may not have thought of it. Institutional inertia doesn't allow them to think outside of their column or their box sometimes.
Well, remember, one of the conversations that we had in this podcast was confirmation bias. Is you keep doing the same thing the same way every time, your reaction to something that happens differently is going to be delayed because you don't expect that. You expect the same thing to happen each and every time. Anyway, going back to one of our previous guests somewhere.
No, that's perfect. That's exactly right. It's like we need to actually listen to our own conversations. I mean, we've had plenty of conversations about this. We've pulled in the experts. We've picked their brains and everything. I mean, we could literally go back and listen to all of our podcasts and come out with another playbook of things. I think that's where Arcus is now. It's like, all right, we've done all our homework. We've been building this up and building this up and building this up. It's like, now we need to take it to the next level. And the next level is, how do we position ourselves and continue to position ourselves as, like you're saying, PJ, the thought leader, people that know what we know what we're doing, a subject matter expert in this. Like, that's what we do. We've done this really, really well. And I think that it's okay for us to toot our horn with this. We built the business to toot the horn, and here's where we are. This is what we're going to do. So 2028 is the Olympics. So it's coming. Like, stuff is coming.
To your point, Anna, I think we have all come at this from different backgrounds as well. So your experience in the event and touring industry, Mel, and you've had the political as well. Mel and my background, just further back, but doing the same thing, of knowing the political side, and now is doing the actual government side, right?
Yeah.
I think that gives us, each of us individually as well as collectively, unique insight into where there might be gaps, where there might be holes, or where we can add value in a specific industry. Can we help protect an oil refinery field? Maybe, but I can guarantee you, you want to start a new festival inside of a downtown area or around Wrigley or around, downtown San Antonio, whatever. I guarantee you, we will add value to that, right?
Well, because we have our experience has been coming at this thing from a somewhat particular viewpoint. That particular viewpoint is not necessarily what others do when they're planning their events. So not only are we wide, but we are deep as well. And we bring a viewpoint that is not, it's not the same as how everybody's going back to confirmation bias again. The viewpoint is we think out of the box. I mean, sometimes it gives me PTSD to think about how many times we've had to solve problems that have never been thought of before. And yet, because of the collaboration and because of thinking out of the box, we have been successful in providing a solution. Hadn't always been pretty, but it solved a problem that added to the success of the mission.
And I am going to use the example. Then we just talked about this at the beginning of the podcast, Mel, how I really felt like, between the state funeral inauguration that I got my butt kicked. When we won the award for the state funeral, it was in March of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody thought about snow. Nobody thought about that we needed to maybe think about that and add it to, the list of assets that we would need to build the perimeter for this. So now come, January, and here we are, a blizzard comes and we're dealing with snow removal, but we're not just dealing with snow removal where they're pushing the big things down. We're dealing with snow removal where we have to get it pushed out of the curb lane so we can actually build the perimeter and build it. And it's like, that's where I was saying, oh my God, these are some of these things that we know this is what we need to do, but we didn't even think about it until we were smacked in the face with it. And then all of a sudden, it's like, not only do I have to move snow out of a corner, I have to move it out of the city because I can't block all the streets because only streets in DC are run by different agencies. And I learned that. That was a big lesson for me. But it was a lot. It was a lot to figure out, and then to make sure the sidewalks that were also attached to it were cleaned off because we couldn't put in mag tents because we had everything else going on. So we know all these things. And like you're saying, Mel, all of a sudden we're going to get hit with something. We're like, oh my God, we know this is what we're supposed to do, but nobody was thinking about this in March of 2023.
Well,
And
the one thing you've never heard come out of any of our mouths is no, we can't do that.
correct. 100% correct. Yeah. I
That was the
mean,
marketing plug.
I was definitely,
Yes,
yes,
we can.
I was
You want it
definitely,
now.
yes,
We have said you want it when, but
yeah,
Yeah.
let's
I mean, there's
talk about
been,
that.
I mean, in over the course of my career, I mean, I maybe one or two times when it was, actually I can remember when I said we can't do that, but it was because of a hurricane. It
Yeah.
was a
Oh,
force majeure. You know,
sure,
so.
sure. Same thing though. This was
But we
just
still,
Did we
but we
still
still
end up
figured
doing it though?
well, yes, we did. We solved. We ended up solving the problem and adapting to our environment to everybody's satisfaction. I mean, that really was the bottom line. There were some there were some hits and misses on the way, but we got there.
Yeah, it's definitely, it was very eye-opening, but I'm always, I'm always willing to learn. I'm always willing to, what I don't need the latest and greatest because, using that as an example, it's like snow's not the latest and greatest. We understand about snow removal and salting and everything. And it's just like, but I wasn't thinking about it when it came time to build this event. And so, I had to stop and really say, okay, I need to figure out how to pivot this and keep us going because we still have a state funeral that has a deadline. It's not like other events, like the state funeral had a deadline. There were only a certain amount of hours and days and times and
State
hours
funeral
a
deadline.
day.
I see what you did there. Sorry.
And hours of the day that we could do things in because of, all the rules that go in with a state funeral. So it was definitely a big
Well, let's
learning.
put it this way. We couldn't say, oh, we're going to be delayed by 8 hours. Can you push your ceremony 8 hours later? That's not an option.
No, sundown was a big factor in this one too, and we were in the middle of winter, which meant sundown was at 5 p.m. So there was a lot of things, but anyway, so I think what I'd like to do then with this, you guys, is I would really like to task the three of us to start thinking about ways that we can um not only bring more people into our community in terms of this podcast, which I love because I love all the conversation, but I think it's time for us to be in other conversations outside of this podcast, and to be able to see where we can position ourselves, to be featured and to be out there. But it's not to say that we shouldn't go on other podcasts also.
Well,
I think,
but this is also a great opportunity in time to say, hey, listeners, if you're spending the time listening to us and you have any ideas, put them in the comments,
yeah,
contact us. We're, love to hear other ideas for how we not just grow the business, but grow the intellectual base of
that's what I was gonna say.
knowledge.
Yeah. Mhm.
Expand our reach.
It's not even our reach, it's extend the reach of making venues and events safer.
Yes.
And there's a lot of great ideas that us 3 or 4 or 5 certainly don't have the corner on the market of great ideas. There's a whole bunch more out there that we'd love to entertain, but we'd also love to collaborate. It's like,
I was just going to
hey,
say that I think collaboration is a big thing with this as well.
huge.
I think that we should keep ourselves very open. This is the time for it. We've proved ourselves, and we should be very proud of that. So I hope that you are, because we should be.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, was I supposed to say something there?
yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. So I think I think that's covers sort of end this conversation today. I'm super proud of where we are, what we're doing, where things are going. There is a lot of stuff ahead, but I think there's so much more that we can get involved in. And it's and not necessarily out on the ground, boots on the ground, kind of like getting involved. I think that will come with it, because the more we show ourselves as the thought leaders, as subject matter experts, the more the phone rings, for lots of stuff. So I welcome our listeners, as Mel said. Thank you, Mel, for that, because I have to remind myself that's what this podcast is all about, inviting them to join the conversation, please.
And collaborate.
Yes, and I will plug it, go to Arcus GRP, ARCUSGRP.com. Look at the website, send us some messages. We're definitely on Instagram and LinkedIn as well. Like, send us your thoughts, have a conversation with us. We do post a lot of things on Instagram, and I think we're trying to ramp up a couple of the YouTube channels as well. So we're definitely getting ourselves in that mix. If you guys see anything out there that you want us to talk about, you know anybody that you want us to invite on the show, let us know also. I mean, there's no conversation that we wouldn't, well, I don't know.
Entertain.
I say that. I don't know.
Well, there.
I
No,
don't,
let's not.
everything doesn't
Don't
have to be warm and fuzzy, is what I guess I'm
don't
trying
go
to.
there. Well, I'm the king of irreverence, and I don't feel like I've been irreverent enough on this podcast. But anyway,
I don't think, yeah,
give me
I
time.
think I'm happy to go with any of the conversations that have any sort of, conflict. I'm good with that. Everybody can have its conversation about that, because I think that that's what's also missing with this, is that we should be able to have conversations and agree to disagree on things. I'm okay with
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
That's what this is all about. So
There's not
anyway,
enough of that going on.
Gentlemen, anything you got? I know we're all super busy, but if you're going out to any of these shows also, like Mel and PJ, like let me know what you guys are doing. We'll run some stuff on it. I just did the Disaster Expo in Miami. I went to attend that. We're gonna
Yeah, how was that?
It's actually pretty good. It's small, but it was good. It's very good. Good speakers. Good stuff. They tend to focus a little more on the cyber side of things, but it's definitely you got to figure out where your niche can fit in there. But I knew a couple of vendors there, so it was nice to go in there and just chat it up with them. Because they're always trying to figure out, how not to pigeonhole themselves also. So no, it was good. It was very good. I enjoyed it. So I think it's usually the spring that I attend a lot of these things, and then we start getting busy with other stuff, but I'm gonna try and keep myself out there a lot more this year. It's somewhat of a down year for us because we come off of, the big campaigns and elections and everything and a lot of the political stuff. So maybe just take a little exhale, and this is where we're regrouping and ramping up for things. So I invite you two to participate in that as well. So anyway, all right. Well, thank you guys very much. If there is anything else, do you guys want to chat about anything else, or are we good for now? And then really, really, let's try to do this once a month, you guys. We have a lot of information that we can get out there. There's a lot of things that happen in the 4 weeks between the time we have conversation, and I really want to just keep it going. So, all right.
And do easy.
All right. Thanks, guys.